Well, good morning, everybody. Hey, we're. I'm happy to be here. This is seems like a really cool event. So this is really nice. So I am David Stelzer. I'm with Azure. Have been from the beginning, and Azure is it's the premier food supplier now. And in the beginning, Azure started as an organic farm, and we still are. My dad decided to start farming organically based on the success that we had in our own life in changing our diet. It was amazing, from illness to wellness, and he just quit using chemicals and stuff back in 1973, a long time before it was cool. And in the beginning, we were like trying to sell the product originally on the conventional market, and then he made a deal with Bob Moore from Bob's Red Mill, and so we sold our products through Bob for 10 years or so, and then Bob quit doing organics because of the marketplace at the time, and Azure was born because I went out and said, hey, somebody's got to be selling this stuff and or buying this stuff, really, or eating it. That's where the rubber meets the road, is at the consumer level. Somebody's got to be doing that. I just need to go find them. So I was young and stupid, didn't know that was supposed to be hard, and went out and started doing deliveries of organic food. I'm from Oregon, so started in the Northwest, did these little routes around Oregon and Washington originally, and that's how that all got started. But now, what we want to talk today about is fear versus purpose and abundance. And in the world today, fear is kind of the primary selling point for almost everything. If you buy into, hey, it can be small fears, it can be big fears. And obviously, there was some really huge ones. We had the whole COVID thing create a lot of fear for everybody. And do we want to live our life buying into fear, or do we want to live our life with a purpose? In my life, fear, it played a pretty big part originally. I was kind of, afraid of a lot of things. But I think providentially, I ended up having to go through a lot of things and seeing those fears realized to their worst, and realize that, it's really not quite so bad as we thought. The unknown is a lot more fearful than what we do know. So I'll just, one example of that, and to begin in my young life, I was a young teenager, and ended up, through a series of events, my dad ended up getting in a tiff with the IRS. Well, the IRS is one of those really scary things, right? That's the last thing you want to do. And they did their worst. Dad's kind of one of those guys that believes in right and wrong. I don't know if you know any people like that, but it's either, hey, I either owe this money or I don't. No, that's not the way the IRS works. The IRS works this other way. Well, we think you might owe this. Let's negotiate. That's the way they work. It's not black and white. And you can see that through the tax law. It's kind of, it's kind of vague, just kind of do what you do. And, that way everybody becomes dishonest and everyone cheats on their taxes, and that's what's expected, right? So, but they want to keep it going through fear. Everyone's afraid of the IRS. You got to be afraid of the IRS. So Dad was like, hey, it's right or wrong. Either I owe it or I don't owe it. He says, I don't owe it. You're wrong. And he was right. He didn't. They were wrong, but it doesn't really matter because there's, our pockets have a pretty short bottom, and the IRS's are pretty much endless. They can send as many, attorneys and stuff out. So one morning when I was, about 16, I guess, one morning I woke up early in the morning and there were about 60 people on our farm. About 23 were armed IRS agents with guns and all the good stuff. And they came to seize. They didn't actually seize the farm. They seized all the equipment from the farm, all of our farming equipment. And, it was a big, scary deal. And they made we're after this. It's now time. You, bad, didn't pay your taxes. We're going to get you. And, it was kind of, it was a little bit traumatic for a 16-year-old at the time. And, it was kind of crazy. But it turns out, in many ways, that was the catalyst for changing my life. Because before that, I was pretty much a typical 16-year-old, involved with school stuff and all the kind of thing. But you know what? After that, I had to actually support the family. And I realized that it wasn't all that bad. My dad, they took all of the farm equipment, so he couldn't farm, and they put a levy on him personally, so every 100%. Now they have a taxpayer bill of rights. They can't take 100%, but this is back in the early 80s. They took 100% of everything he made, right? So he had no way of supporting the family. So I went to work, and of course, as a farm laborer, that was $3 an hour back then, and realized that I was going to have a hard time supporting the family on $3 an hour, no matter how many hours I worked. It sounds like a lot. I mean, it was a lot more than now. So after about a month in, I said, hey, this ain't working. So I made a deal with the farmer. He says, don't pay me anything. I'll work for free. Just let me use your farm equipment. So that sounds like a pretty good deal. You'll put the fuel in. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I just use your equipment. So I worked for him all week, and then I farmed using his equipment on our farm on the weekends. And then I was able to support the family, right? So Azure Farm is, so that was kind of the start of my actually getting in over my head in farming. And, so I'm a high school dropout. I never went back after I had to quit to support the family. But I realized that actually now put me in good stead. First of all, hey, they took all the old equipment. Now we got to get all new stuff, much better. They gave it their best to put fear in every way into our family, but it drew our family closer together. It created a family dynamic. Before that, we were pretty much more typical, maybe American families. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing and going their own way, but not anymore. It went to a solid family unit. And by the way, during that time frame, we had to go back 100% to the homesteading thing. We had to grow all of our food, raise all that stuff, but fortunately we did know how, which was because it wasn't, hey, My parents were only one generation from that, so that was pretty normal. So fast forward a few years now, we lose our markets for our grain with Bob's, and we have to find markets. Now, I was the shy kid, right? I was the kid that didn't want to, definitely not the extrovert. And now I'm out doing sales work, although I didn't really know it was sales work at that time. I'm going to these stores and talking to owners. I'm like 20, 21, 22 years old now. I'm like, oh, do you want to buy some grain? It's like, yeah. Learn to overcome that fear pretty fast. You know what? When you face the fears that are in your life, they go away pretty quickly. But why is it that the whole world has a mindset of fear? Be afraid of everything. Be afraid. Be afraid for your health. Be afraid for your welfare. Be afraid of the government, or maybe be afraid of the government not intervening enough, depending on which side of the aisle you might be on. Everything is based on what we're afraid of. And what I learned really quickly, especially as I was building Azure, now it's all about what we're doing and not what we're afraid of. They tell us to be afraid of everything. And I want to talk just a little bit about family and kids, As family, especially those of you that are raising children and raising children now, what should we be more worried about? Their physical or their long-term spiritual and emotional welfare? And I will tell you, now everything is about, keep them safe, be safe, be safe. To heck with safe. Kids are not safe. If you want safe, don't have kids. It's not the right combination. And if you try to hammer your kids down, don't ride a bike, don't climb a tree, don't do all the things kids do, guys. That's dangerous. What if you'd fall off and skin your knee? That would be pretty bad. No, you sit them in a corner with a video game so they can't get hurt. Well, that's the wrong answer, because it's a disaster on the emotional and the spiritual well-being of the child. Because for a healthy child, they need to go out and eat dirt. They need to get skinned knees. They need those things to be healthy and well-adjusted children. And even further, the story is, hey, it's scary. Don't have kids. Don't have kids. That's scary, right? They cost a lot. Hey, they're full of it. Don't believe in it. Don't believe a word of it. No. Have a family, and the more the better. Hey, it's a world of abundance. There's no shortage. One of the things that we're told all the time is we're running out of resources in this world. Yeah, poppycock. It's just back to the fear thing. Be afraid of running out of resources. No, we're not even close to running out of food in this world. And furthermore, even if we were, going back to the methodology of raising small farms, bringing more people on the farm, and raising small farms can increase productivity tenfold. Way better than corn and soybeans, feed it to hogs and factory farms. No, we can do better than that, guys. And that's what all this great farmland out, in the Midwest, they raise corn and soybeans, feed it to hogs and chickens, and export it across the world. But we're not even close to being out of food. We live in a land of abundance. We're not only a land of abundance, but a world of abundance. Our God is an abundant God. He's given enough that we have no fear of running out of resources. That's not even on the radar. And I've been told several times, hey, that's the wrong thing to say when you're the one selling the food. You're not, create a world of scarcity. Only 2 more weeks and the price is going up. No, that's not the way That's not the way we work at Azure. I want to be, with Azure, we want to have abundance always. And yes, we go up a shade and have a little better food, for sure. But what is, when we are not driven by fear, what are we driven by? It's purpose. You know what? We can have a purpose in life. And that purpose is a little bit different for every person. Every person has a calling. They have a calling to a purpose, and those of us that are fortunate enough to know what that purpose is, that's a wonderful thing. But as we discover the purpose, what we can do, and purpose needs to be in helping other people, in creating a better life, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and in some way for our fellow man. And that needs to be the purpose of every person. And it's going to vary tremendously. It's not going to be the same for everybody. You know, the purpose in my life for providing healthy food for for families, you know, so families can actually, eat healthy on a budget. That's the purpose that I've been given as primary. There's other things. But everyone has their own purpose. And then as you're raising, your families, doing your homesteads, what is the long-term purpose? And furthermore, when we have a purpose, develop competence. This is a really important point, because we can try to do all kinds of things and fail a whole bunch of times. And I'm not against failing. Fail and fail forward and fail fast is fine. I've failed hundreds of times. Almost been bankrupt, done all the stuff, right? It's not bad to fail, but don't fail because of incompetence. We can learn to do what we've been called to do. And much of that's through practice. If we practice, if we study, if we create competence, then fear goes away in the face of competence. When we know the answer, if you go out and you're, suddenly thrown into flying an airplane, if you don't know how, that's pretty scary, right? But if you're a pilot with a bunch of hours under your belt, wouldn't be very scary, right? You just fly the airplane. And that's kind of the way that works in life. If we have the competence and we know how to do what we're doing. Now, there's some things that don't come with a really good manual. Raising kids is one of those things. Doesn't come with a super good manual because, children aren't exactly created equally. I have 11 of them, so I know. There's no, I believe in abundance, guys. Abundance in every area of our life. There's, so if we have a purpose, then we can't be sold on fear. So why does the world, in the whole governmental system, I should say, create so much fear? Why are we afraid of everything? Why are we afraid, to drive a car without a seatbelt? Why are we afraid to go outside of our comfort zone? What is it? Why have all these safety things? You see everywhere, safety first. I say, yeah. No, safety's important. No, purpose is first. Purpose first. Safety's second, maybe third or fourth, I don't know. Somewhere down there, but definitely not first. And I've gotten in trouble. I run a company, and OSHA listens to these sometimes. And got in trouble a few times for saying that, but that's true. It's not about, and I'm not saying go out and do stupid stuff, unless you're a kid, that's okay. But we're not going out to do stupid stuff, but we're not putting safety first. And why do they want us to put safety first? Run by insurance companies, guys. They want you to wear a seatbelt because statistically, they're going to have to pay a few less bucks out in claims if everybody wears a seatbelt. It's not about the individual. I mean, you can get killed in a seatbelt. You could get killed because of a seatbelt. But that's individual liberty versus commercialization of fear. They try to tell us, oh, it's super dangerous. But no, it's really about dollars and cents. It's what insurance companies have to pay in claims. And that's all it's about. Because if you're in a seatbelt, you're either going to get killed or you're probably going to be better off. And they're not going to have to pay a claim either way. It's when you get injured and they have to get you well that it costs them a lot of money, right? So they want a place where they're going to get less claims. It's about litigation. It's about compliance. We're always afraid of doing the right thing because we might get sued or the government might come down on us. And they might. I've been there, done that, been come down on multiple times. But you know what? They have a hard time confronting truth. Yeah, we had the county come down on us and tell us we couldn't farm organically anymore. They were going to spray our fields if we didn't because they found some weeds out there that they were afraid the seeds might blow into the neighbors. I don't know. They weren't, but they were afraid, right? They were afraid that weed seeds from our farm were going to blow into neighbors. So they come down. Oh, if you don't spray, we're going to do it for you and charge you for it. That's the way this works in this county. Yeah. No, it didn't quite work that way. In our case, we went out and told everybody. It went viral on social media, and the county had about 30,000 phone calls and emails in about 4 days. And they suddenly changed their mind. Oh, we didn't mean that. We didn't mean that. We just meant we want to work with you to get the weeds under control right here along this fence, this one. Yeah, that's exactly. They changed their mind real fast. They changed the way that they looked at it. They looked at it because they realized that it wasn't one mindset. And we kicked the fear in for them. They got to be afraid instead of trying to make us afraid, right? So when we have purpose and we become dominant, the fear starts to go the other way. And I'm not saying that we should use that as a tool. They use that as a tool. We don't need to use that as a tool. But they're so used to it that's exactly where they go very first. Oh, what am I going to get sued? Am I going to get into litigation? Am I going to get 30,000 phone calls? Which, they didn't have enough people to answer those phone calls. Completely shut the county down for about 2 weeks. They were pretty upset, actually, but they suddenly they were suddenly all really willing to work with us, right? So there is power in purpose if we're doing purpose. So if you're going out and we're going out, this is a homesteading conference, we're going to go start homesteading. We're learning about homesteading, we're doing that. Why are we doing it? Is it out of fear or out of purpose? And I want to challenge. And I'm not saying that it's not a good thing to do. It's a wonderful thing to do. It's the very best of the best. That's why I support it so strongly. But I found quite a few people that are going out and they're homesteading for the wrong reason. And if you homestead for the wrong reason, you will burn out pretty fast because it's something that we need to change our lifestyle on. It's the lifestyle that we live. If we're going out for the wrong reason, i.e., hey, and this is one I've heard a lot. You know what? What's going to hit the fan pretty quick? and everything's going to go to pot. The economy's going to tank, and anyone who's in the city is going to be in a world of hurt. So we need to get out to the country and start homesteading. Well, it's the right result, wrong reason. Because we're doing it out of fear. We're fearing that the government's not going to be able to keep the economy together. Things are going to go to pot. And then what? If we're in the middle of a city, we're going to be running low on food, no place to grow any. We're going to be all this stuff, right? This is the fear. The roads are going to get plugged. There's going to be raiding. Whatever the fear is, paint the picture. You can paint that picture. Right result, wrong reason. But if you're out there and 10 years later, the economy still hasn't gone to pot, I heard about the economy going to pot, and I'm older than most of you guys, so I heard about it back in the 80s. It was supposed to go in 83. It's been quite a few years since then. And, I can't say the economy's great. I think there's a lot of things wrong with it, a lot of things wrong in the world. But I don't want to concentrate on what's wrong. I want to concentrate on trying to make things right. We want to make things right for our world, our economy, if you will, and create a sub-economy underneath the corporate economy that we have in the world monetary system. And I think the homesteading movement is a great place to start doing that. So if we go in with that reason, we want to make an economy within the economy. We want to raise our families in a more healthy environment. We want our kids to have chores to do. It's good to do chores, guys. Very good thing. More chores, the better, Pretty close. Milk the cow every day. It's nothing better for adolescent. Perfect place to start. But if that's why you want to do it, that's the right reason. Bring your, hey, you want to raise your family in a rural environment? Go to, have them be able to school on their home, or go to a small school, or however that works. Get away from the big city environment. Raise our families in a better way. Eat better because we raise our own food. Those are all right reasons. We can create an economy. We can create a business within our family. Okay, we want to try to start a family business. Well, maybe dad still has to work for, online or GoDaddy or something, whatever. But you can create a business for the family, and it can grow into however big you want it. Heck, I started Azure with one pickup. Now we have, close to 300 people work for Azure. It's, it was because there was a vision. And every problem is overcomable one step at a time. We're not confronted with all the problems of going from 0 to 300 people all at one time. We get those one thing at a time. So create with your homestead. I would encourage you to create a viable business opportunity with that. You know what? It could start with farmers markets. It doesn't matter. That's a great place to start. It's time-consuming as heck, I'll tell you that. It's very time-consuming to do farmers markets. But hey, especially if you got children, it's a great place to get them some public-facing experience. It's a great place to start, but you can grow it from there. And one of the things Azure does, what we do here is we support independent and family businesses, and we help distribute. So the huge thing and the big fear factor for creating products in the marketplace is it is expensive as all get out to get products into national distribution. And if you're going to try to get a product into national distribution through, United Natural Foods and, Whole Foods or something like that, it's going to be expensive as heck. You're going to give a free fill to every one of those stores. You're going to pay the distributor big bucks to put it on the shelf. And you're going to pay for advertising to get it out into the marketplace. It's very expensive, almost impossible. And that's what I saw as I began to bring our product to market. And this was a long time ago. So Azure began to create a logistical network. And so, hey, if it's impossible, it only means that somebody hasn't done it yet. Doesn't mean there isn't anything really impossible, just hasn't been done yet. We just have to think it through and take the next step one at a time. So when they said, hey, getting national distribution is impossible, that was a challenge, not an impossible. So we began to create a logistical network. Azure now has a logistical network. And as of actually just the last month, we now have distribution to all 50 states within our own network. And we are dedicated to bringing that distribution to people who have the right kind of products from their farms and want to get it distributed nationally. Azure is now a channel for that. So if you do want to start a business, and I'm not saying just, we do have to fall within the regulatory world. So unfortunately, we are very much on the radar. Most of a lot of these small farms are exempt from a lot of that stuff. So you can do the farmers markets, you can do a lot of that stuff. You can cook stuff in your home kitchen, you can do all this stuff, and they don't pay much attention to it. But they do to us. So if we're selling your product, you do have to have enough scale to be able to get to that point, to be able to, to have not completely underground products, only on the edge of underground, okay? At least have the paperwork in order. I don't care, I'm not here to talk about the fear side, but there is some paperwork that has to be gotten together to do national distribution, but nothing. They say that, on an average product to get national distribution, you're going to spend about $250,000 per SKU before you start making any money. That's just to get it into the stores and get it into national distribution. Here's an end run. And we created an end run. It took us 30 years to do it. Not saying it was exactly easy. It's not easy. Our logistical network is probably almost next to as complicated as the airlines. But we figured out how to do it, and we can run almost as smooth as the airlines now. And that's what's fun about doing this. Hey, if we have a purpose, we can overcome them one at a time. So I'd love to encourage everyone, think about it. Take the next step. Don't content yourself with sitting on the farm and hiding. Create an underground economy. Create an economy that is outside of major corporate America. You don't need it. We don't have to have it. We can end run it. We can bypass it. And the small family farm is the backbone of that economy. Because you know what? Almost everything there is starts out in the soil. It's either farming or mining, guys. Everything starts there. And we can add value all day long to that. And we will. And I encourage everyone to do that. Add value to the products you raise. Process them. It's all over the board. But hey, if you're raising these pasture-fed poultry, think about jerky or chicken sticks or whatever. There's next steps. You can do all those things. It doesn't have to just be, come out to the farm and grab some. You can get some chicken. There's a huge array of opportunity. And I feel like the opportunity right now is probably greater than we've ever seen in history, because the corporate world has tried to create monopolies around the food supply, around the supply of food and fiber and as we end run that, it's just a lot of fun. We break the economy. We break that stranglehold that is on the food supply. And by all means, support your neighbors. If you don't raise that thing, support other independent and family-owned companies, right? We can create we don't have to go to Costco and Walmart, right? There's other opportunities. There's other ways to do it. There is opportunity that we've never seen before. There's also adversity that we've never seen before, and a lot of times those two things go together. Adversity and opportunity to go together. Let's take the opportunity side and not live in the adversity. You know what? A lot of times hiding in plain sight's the best way. The more dominant you are, and I shared about our struggle with the county and the weeds. You know what? If we'd have hid in the sand, we're not doing any weeds, they would have sprayed our farm. But going out and confronting it straight on and being dominant and having those relationships in your own community, in your own network, within other families, farms and family businesses within your community. Get to know the people that run the small companies within your community, even if they're not agriculture related. Get to know those people, because that is the foundation of the local economy. That's the foundation of what will change the world in a positive way. So we, say, it's not about money and it's not about business. But in many ways it is. It's business and money that's going to drive change. And I'm not talking about big money, I'm talking about local economy. It's changing the way we look at the world. It's changing our mindset from hiding on the backside of the wilderness to being in the forefront and making the changes in our local community, to be the drivers, to drive the community. And what I loved about that is that it creates abundance. Again, this is not a world of scarcity, it's a world of abundance. We just have to reach out and take it. We're not short of anything. That's just fictitious. It's just there as a figment of our imaginations to drive the price up. Abundance is where we live. It's what it is. And we may or may not have abundance in our life, but that depends on how we face our life. And if we have purpose. And the reward for our effort is in direct proportion to the number of people we're able to serve. And that's just the way that it works. The more people we are able to serve, the more problems we're able to solve for folks, the more abundance that we have in our life. And again, it's not just about economic abundance. It's about health. It's about our bodies, about our souls, about our spiritual experience. And if we can have abundance in all of those areas, it creates a pretty happy life. And not only a happy life, but we have a purpose, and we're actually able to make a difference in the lives of those that we live around and in our communities and in our lives. So, thank you, everyone. I have about 5 minutes left if there's a question.
Are you trying to create like a network of vendors? Is that what you want to do? Is to create people that also want to contribute to your network that also benefit from this abundancy?
Absolutely. Yes. I'm not saying that I want to do that particularly, but that is part of the core values and mission of Azure, is to support the independent and family-owned companies. And I think the independent and family-owned companies are the foundation of, and because of that tremendous bar that is required to get national distribution, I want to give everyone the opportunity to do the end run that I've already created the infrastructure for. And so we'd love to have, obviously there has to be a certain volume and stuff to make that work. But we would love to work with any of you that have a long-term vision of getting into national distribution into the marketplace. So, that's I would love to offer our network to that end. All right. Thank you and blessings.